everyone, Monica Jazik from RPI Education. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Summit. In this series, you'll hear from 21 experts sharing powerful, little-known wealth-building strategies that 98% of people are not using. These interviews are packed with real actionable steps to help you fast-track your financial freedom. So let's jump in with today's guest, Olivia Tati. Olivia, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited for this interview. What you're doing is absolutely fascinating. I'm going to read this quick bio before we get started.
Perfect.
So, Olivia kickstarted her career in real estate as a part-time residential agent while working her full-time corporate engineering job, swiftly establishing herself as a prominent figure within the local community. She has a natural talent for connecting people and bringing the energy. And after paying off $25,000 of credit card debt in 8 months and securing her first investment property only a couple months after that, she set her mind to this and she knew she could do anything. She was able to quit her corporate job as an engineer through house hacking and passionately teaches folks how to do the same through her community, Wanderlust Wealth Academy, geared towards women looking for more time, location, and financial freedom through real estate investing. Olivia has now transitioned into a career as a full-time real estate investor and coach with a $3 million real estate portfolio generating up to $40,000 a month that consists of a mix of short-term and medium-term rentals. And Olivia is also the host of the Wanderlust Wealth Show and an avid traveler who has been to over 50 countries and on social media sharing her designs, travels, and investing strategies with her followers. And Olivia, as amazing as this bio is, I just need to stress to the audience that Olivia is traveling all the time.
Yes.
So, although you mentioned it in here, I need to reiterate how you really are a traveling real estate investor who is consistently traveling and managing your portfolio while you're traveling, as well as coaching and helping others do pretty much the same thing that you do. And I love how you have that teaching women to live a life. Where was that? A life of
Freedom, most likely. Freedom is a very big core value for me, just in general. And like everything that I do is around that and helping other people achieve that as well.
I hear you. Like for me, it's all about time, money, freedom.
Yeah.
Those are really to me what financial freedom means. So I think freedom is huge. And what's more freedom than traveling? I mean, that's just I feel so free when you're traveling and traveling the world, being to over 50 countries. That's absolutely amazing. All well knowing that you could afford to do it and you're still running a mobile business, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Amazing.
I know. And it's so funny because every time I'm like, oh, maybe I'll settle down, I just book another flight. So.
And so where are you tuning in from right now?
Well, I'm actually in Denver. I just got back from London, Turkey, and Romania for 3 weeks. I just got back yesterday. So,
And so you're based in Denver, Colorado?
based in Denver, Colorado. When I quit my corporate job, I actually nomaded for 2 years. And then I was like, okay, I'm ready to have a home base again. So, got my home base here in Colorado, but I still like travel internationally every other month. And I travel like inside the US every month. And yeah.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Okay, so let's go into what really is your wealth building strategy that you use? What is the exact strategy you use that really created financial freedom in your life? And why do you think more people are not doing this?
Yeah, and so it's really so simple. Like I think if you talk to a lot of like real estate investors, it's just house hacking, right? I like and this is where a lot of people for anyone who doesn't know, house hacking is when you buy a property, you live in part of it and then you rent other parts of it out. The reason that I like it is because you have access to a more diverse like options in terms of properties and you have access to lower down payment loans and better loan terms. So that's why I really like it, especially if you're not sitting on $500,000 or $1 million, right? Like you can really get in for a lot less money and you can even do it in more expensive markets. Um I'd say the reason that people aren't doing it is the unwillingness to get a little bit uncomfortable, right? Because you have it in your mind where it's like, okay, well, success looks like buying the big house and then having the white picket fence and then, the 3-bed, 2 bath and just sticking with that. But for me, that's never really what success looked like. For me, success looked like having control over my time, being able to travel the world whenever I wanted, not having to ask for vacation, and just like being able to spend time with the people that I love whenever I felt like it. And so that's really what I focused on. And that's where house hacking just became such a no brainer for me. And it never felt like this. And like, I'm still house hacking, like, I'm house hacking $1 million property right now. And for me, like, it never felt like a sacrifice. It felt like I was more so playing into my strengths and into my goals and what success looked like to me.
Amazing, amazing. And it's funny, I think maybe also the word hacking makes it feel like people are doing, maybe we need to change it to house helping.
Yeah.
You're helping yourself and you are helping the homeowner
Yes.
too. So you really are helping people and you're helping creating housing in
Yes.
areas because this room sharing and all these sort of things, it really is a new concept. Not everyone
Hmm.
wants a full house to themselves. And quite often with our rentals, I'm priding myself on like private, not shared. And people are like,
Yes.
oh, so I can't have a roommate? I can't have someone to share this with? Oh, ugh. And I guess the older generations like, ooh, private, it's all
Yeah.
his own. And then the younger generations, a lot of them are like, no, because there's other stuff. I just want to lay my hat somewhere in a safe environment and I want to
Completely.
grow my money elsewhere and travel and not have to be a slave to my home and to my possessions and stuff. So I absolutely love that. I think that's so powerful. So let's take us back to the corporate days.
Yes.
So what were you doing to build wealth before and your engineering days, which is also
Yes.
very impressive. What kind of engineer are you?
I was a chemical engineer out on the oil and gas, like in the oil and gas industry. So I both worked in the office, but then was like a facilities engineer on the platforms in the oil in like the Gulf of Mexico. So I would like run a lot of the projects out there and really advise like the folks on offshore.
Okay. That's impressive on its own. We could do a podcast on that. So what were you doing to build wealth before you started using this strategy? And what is like, I want you to think back to like that pivotal moment that happened in your life where you just knew you had to make a change. And as
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, we all know, we remember that moment, that period of pain that you just are like, no more, I'm done.
Yeah, so there were two main points, but I'll go back to me before even knowing what real estate investing was, is I had no financial literacy. So basically, whenever I finished grad school, I actually took 3 months off before going to work. And my whole goal was I wanted to hit 50 countries. Like I wanted to get to my 50th country. So I took 3 months off and solo traveled, and friends would join me at different parts. And it was like the best experience ever. But it was kind of like my last hurrah into before becoming a real working person in society, right? In order to do that, though, I got into $25,000 worth of credit card debt. And that's when I started my corporate job, I was like, okay, I'm going to be making 6 figures. This is going to be great, fabulous. I'll pay it off in no time. But a year goes by and I still haven't paid it off. And that's when I realized I'm clearly not getting something here. Like I'm clearly not doing something right with my money. I did have a 401k, which I didn't really understand, didn't know how it worked. I was just putting money in it up to the match and just that's essentially what I was doing. I think I was actually maxing out my 401k. Um I didn't have literally anything else though. Like I really wasn't doing anything else to grow my money, just making it and then using it to travel. Really, I use a lot of, as you can tell, there's a theme. I use my money to travel a lot. um, but then this was actually during COVID when we started working from home, and it was very different. Some people when during COVID they were like, "It was great. I didn't really have to work. Like we were working from home." For me, it was actually the exact opposite because what the company saw it as is like, oh my gosh, you're working from home. Great. You have so much time on your hands. We're just going to like totally work you to the bone. And so this was like weekends, nights, and I worked in operations. So I was already on call 24/7. And so it really ramped up during that time. But then we were also facing layoffs. But because I was so new in the company, I wasn't going to get laid off, even though I was secretly hoping I would. But that was the time where I was just like, okay, still in this credit card debt. I know I don't want to work this forever. Like this is not my happy place. I'm starting to get a little bit depressed. I need to find something else to do. So I decided I was actually going to get my real estate license because I heard people made money in real estate. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know anything about it. So I started studying to get my real estate license, and that's actually when I found real estate investing podcasts. And that's when things clicked for me. Like I heard about the house hacking strategy. I heard about short-term rentals because that's mainly what I do as well as short and midterm rentals. And that got me really excited, especially as a traveler. And it was fun. And I love interior design. So that was the first, like, aha, I'm going to buy my first property. However, the point where I really felt like, okay, I need to quit my job and just go all in on real estate investing, this was actually right after I'd purchased my first investment property. It was a duplex in New Orleans. And the company announced return back to office, meaning we were working remotely before and now we were having to go back into the office. And it was so funny because uh, like before then, I was actually taking antidepressant medication, taking Lexapro, just because I hated my day to day. I really didn't like my job. It was really hard for me to just like wake up and get stuff done. And I was at a point where I got my first investment property. I was really excited. I'm like, I don't think I need this Lexapro anymore. But then when they announced return to office, I fell into that deep spiral of depression again. And I was just like, this is not it. Like, how am I supposed to keep going? How am I supposed to do this? I don't need, and my job was very intense in terms of I was working a lot. So I didn't have a ton of extra time to put towards other things. So that's really when my mind was like, I need to figure out another way. Either I get a different job that's more flexible, or I quit my job and go in on, all in on real estate. And that's kind of the mindset that I was in at that time.
Wow, that's really impactful. And thank you so much for sharing that. It's important that we really do stay in tune, to our inner voice. And to one of a really great business coach that I had years and years ago, actually, that we will be interviewing on the summit as well. A question that he always says to ask yourself in any decision really is, what are you trading your life for?
Yeah.
And that was really impactful. My story when I started out finishing my master's of teaching and I had my first son. I didn't know much. I was a young mother. I was in my 20s and trying to balance both. But all I knew was when I was doing a practicum, I was leaving the best part of my life at daycare every morning. And I
Hmm.
started, like you, developing physical repercussions from this discontent that I was feeling. And I wasn't able to really, I thought this was what people did.
Yeah.
And you don't really know. You have to pay attention to what you feel. And I was coming out in the form of stomach ulcers. What
Oh,
27-year-old has stomach ulcers?
yeah.
Um, you
Yeah.
know, like what beautiful young girl like yourself here living the dream has depression, but it happens and it's just a sign, like Tony Robbins says, the disease really links down to dis-ease. And
Yeah.
if we're able to really kind of take that and bring that to life and look at that. So I didn't know much, but I knew that I didn't want to work full time. That was I didn't know I wanted to be a real estate investor either, by the way, at that point. But I knew it, like I paid attention and it came out physically just like that in the form of ulcers, stomach ulcers. And that really led to the my decision of being a full-time stay-at-home mom for that child and any other children that we have. So I like how it really kind of goes back to those stories that lead to these changes. So
Completely. And I mean, it's like what you said too is like your body sometimes just knows what is for you and what isn't. And I think like in corporate, we're told to just power through, even through school and everything, versus like listening to our intuition, listening to our body, and paying attention to how we actually are responding to our environment.
you know what, that is so cool. And for anyone who's like also investigating being a real estate investor or going into the real estate investing field, pay attention. If you are leaving your job and entering real estate or investments or anything, you don't necessarily have to go into mortgages. You don't have to necessarily have to be a real estate agent. And a lot of people don't know that. And this takes me to my husband's story when he retired at 40 from our portfolio, able to work in our business full time. It was a natural step also to, because you always as residual streams of income to get his mortgage license and get his real estate license. And I'm really, really grateful that he went through the programs and tests, but realized really early on, I hate this.
Yeah.
I do not want to do this. And he felt like scared, like he's disappointing or he's not taking advantage, of all these opportunities in front of you. But you don't have to.
Yeah.
when you're building a business. You really can just focus on that one thing. So I was really grateful he realized, he's like, I don't want to be doing mortgages. I don't like this, and I hate it. So the
Well,
faster
that
we
was
can
even
figure
with
out.
my real estate license too. So like now I technically still have my license, but I only do referrals because I also realized like, okay, yes, you can here's the thing, is you can make money in anything. Literally anything. So you may as well pick something you actually enjoy. And I realized I did not love being a real estate agent, but I love being in the real estate space. I love being a real estate coach and I love being an investor. And I even started an interior design business, but ended up like we're in the process of shutting down the interior design business and fully focusing on coaching. Because you can go at it in whatever direction you want. Just like pick a lane that you enjoy, and you'll be in it for so much longer.
Exactly, exactly. I love it. And then things do change. Things pivot, they change as we go along. But yeah, choose that focus, that area of specialty when you nail down that focus. If you really want and your interest change, you know, change to the next thing. So can you walk us through your strategy and how you actually use the strategy to fast track your wealth and create this financial freedom in your life? So take us through the
Totally.
life of a house hacker.
Yes. So I personally love short-term rentals in general. So if you want to speed up house hacking and you want to like get out of your corporate job or you just want to go part-time, if you can get a property where you can short-term rent part of it, that is going to get you there a lot faster just because there's more money to be made in short-term rentals. And there truly is, especially if you look at the numbers, you're not like cash flowing $100, you're cash flowing 1,000, 2,000, sometimes 5, 10,000. There's a lot of opportunity there. And there's also various different ways that you can house hack. A lot of people think of house hacking as only multifamily, duplex, triplex, fourplex. But there's so many creative ways that you can do it. Like for example, right now I have a house that has a main house and a basement unit. And then one of my coaching students, she got a house with a main house and a garage apartment that was converted. You can split a house into 3 houses. So you're always thinking about like what are creative ways that I can actually do this. Um, and so right now, for example, I recently just purchased a property where I actually converted the main house into a large short-term rental where it hosts 16 people. And the margins on that are really big because it's a larger property and people will pay more to have 16 people together in one space and they're a lot harder to find. So
Oh,
I'm
they
always
are.
trying to
What area
find
is that in?
in Colorado.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm always trying to find like what are those like little anomalies. Now, I don't want people to get bogged down by like I have to find the diamond in the rough. I started off with a simple New Orleans duplex. Literally every other house in New Orleans is a duplex. I lived on one side and I short-term rented the other. And I can even go over my numbers on that. So that very first property that I bought was $399,000. It was not super expensive. It's a brand new construction. I did an FHA loan, so 3.5% down on that, meaning that I was coming to the table with when you include closing costs and everything with about $25,000. However, this is another fun story. At the time, I had exactly $25,000 in my bank account.
And credit card
And
debt.
no, and so that's no, I'd already cleared my credit card debt. And I had $25,000 in my bank account, but I also had $50,000 in my 401k. And so instead of going ahead and like draining my bank account to buy this property, I got a 401k loan instead. And so just an FYI with 401k loans, you can basically take up to $50,000 or up to 50% of your balance, but only up to $50,000. So let's say you have $50,000 like I did in my 401k. I could take a loan of $25,000 from my 401k. If you've got $150,000, you can still only take up to 50,000.
Mhm.
Now, certain 401k loans, for example, the one that I had a special 401k loan for primary residences. So I was actually able to take out a 30-year fixed loan from my 401k. For $25,000, and that payment is literally like $130 a month, which is crazy.
Wow.
And so I still have it on that property. And I used it
Wow.
again even when I quit my corporate job. I rolled most of my 401k into a solo 401k and did it again to buy another property again.
It's amazing. We educate a lot on that, on strategic financing. And it's really one of those secret components of building wealth. People think real estate's reserved for the wealthy, but people are richer than
Yeah.
they think. And by use of the strategic leverage or creative financing, it's amazing what you
Yeah.
can do. And in self-directing registered funds, we have a lot of education on that. And using your 401k, your IRA. In Canada, we call that RSP.
Hmm.
So it's every country is different. But all of the countries in the UK and Australia, US and Canada, everyone can really tap in to that traditional financing. Like you said earlier, I was just setting it aside. I remember that. Oh, we're matching because you want to get it. But there's no purpose to it. There was not really a goal. You just were doing it because this is what the wealthy barber and Susie Orman kind of told you to do. But now you're like, wow, I don't have to wait till I'm 65. I could use that rather than investing in low growth products and really buy something that I can create some tremendous wealth for myself, stuff that will be a long-term gain and immediate also cash flow as well. So that's really exciting. And you're not collapsing the funds. I want to really emphasize that as well to
Yeah.
everyone. It's not because a lot of people think, oh, I have to collapse it and then I'm going to be taxed.
No, and that's the thing that I love about a 401k loan is you don't get taxed on it.
Yeah.
Like, and you're paying the interest back into your account too. So you're not like paying the interest randomly to like the institution, like it actually goes back into your account. So you're just taking a loan from yourself.
Yep. And there's so many different ways that people can do it. And people think like, how am I going to finance these properties? You have VA loans.
Yep.
People have like first time buyers.
NACA is great. I have a few students who've used NACA, which is 0% down, $0 in closing costs, lower interest rates. Like,
And some people are getting the seller to pay the closing costs. You're like
yes,
making money by buying a property.
completely, completely.
And as long as you know what these strategies are and you have these teams and these mentors to sort of help you do them and guide you to do them, this is what's really possible for people. As long as they have the education and the know-how
Yeah.
of how to do that, you can make it possible. And for people who really have absolutely nothing, they can house hack. There are ways to house hack also with never owning the home, but
Yeah.
it comes in creative negotiation. I
Yes.
think sort of comes in. But so do you own all of your properties or do you house hack some or your main focus really is to the buy and then do the short term, midterm
Yeah,
rentals?
so I own all of my properties. My big thing was is I always wanted it to be long-term wealth, but I mean, I started out like technically house hacking by just renting an apartment and then
Yeah.
renting the extra room out to a friend of mine on weekends. So,
I love that. And that is so common. That's such a good place to
Mhm.
start as well. Because quite often, a lot of the property owners, whatever that they're doing this with, they want to have, a contract with someone. And a
Yeah.
lot of areas, people are having trouble getting tenants to have someone come
Hmm.
in willing to take care of all these sort of the property for a long-term basis. And because you do have to ask permission, obviously
Yeah.
to do this. And I've been open to it. I've let people do that to our properties
Yeah.
before too, because I realize a lot of people with the income coming in and the cost of living, it's difficult for people to get ahead.
Yeah.
Sometimes another tip, and I don't know if you've ever done this or advised your students to do this, is if they have an owner, a distressed owner or whatever, who was trying to sell this, is to negotiate a sale or an option to purchase even with the owner and say, I can take
Yes.
this over and can I buy this from you and have the first option of purchase in 1 year or 3 years or 5 years? And people could even do this with their own homes, their
Completely.
primary homeowner as well. Yeah, I
Completely.
love that. That's
Yeah, and it's so funny because at this point I've been house hacking for 4 years now, and I just don't see myself not house hacking for a while. Like because there's so many different ways to do it, right? Like I was saying, you could do duplex, triplex, you could rent by the room, you can get something with a basement or an ADU in the back. You could get a large property with land. You live in part of the house and you build a bunch of tiny homes on the property or you build another structure that you can rent out. There are people doing extremely luxury house. There are so many different ways to do it, and it's so hard now because every single property that I see, I'm like, it has to make some sort of income.
Well, if it doesn't make an income, it's a liability. It's not an
Exactly.
asset. So we always
Exactly.
need to have it. But then again, even too, if people do want to live privately and they've used that leverage to even buy the property, technically it is. But we always need like cash is king. Long
Yeah.
term, it's great. You have your
Yeah.
boring buy rent holds, but you need to have that cash flow. Midterm and short term are definitely more lucrative than just your set it and forget it because I'm not entirely sure of the states that you invest in and what the rental increases are. Where we are, we're capped to a 2.5% rental increase every year if you take,
Oh.
and we are not a friendly place
Where are you located?
here in Ontario, Canada.
Ah, yeah.
So think New York, think California,
Yeah.
think Chicago, and we probably have as many rights as they do.
Yeah, I
So,
know. And that's the hard part is like, some people invest in only landlord friendly states. I care less about that. I think it's all about working with the rules that are in place, right? Like whatever, because you can do it in any location. I think a lot of people get so bogged down and I'm not in a landlord friendly state, so I can't do it. No, you can do it anywhere. It's just being aware of what the rules are and then figuring out your strategy based on that.
I think it's more reason to do it in non-landlord friendly states
Mhm.
because when I do, I like to furnish, I think all of
Yes.
us girlies, we have this because we are all developers, we're all investors. This isn't like interior design, like a couple pillows here and there and
Right.
fancy. Like we know how to furnish. I like to furnish our units,
Yeah.
do fully furnished, midterms or short terms. I do
Yes.
both. Ideally, I always make sure it goes as a midterm in conjunction with the municipality. In the event, sometimes they can swoop in and
Yes.
shut short term down
I'm the
on
same. I'm
Airbnb.
the same. And I still
Mhm.
even tell all of my students run the numbers as a short term, run the numbers as a midterm, run it also as a long term,
Yes.
just in case. You want to have different exit strategies. You don't want the only resort to be like, I have to sell at this point or to lose money, right? So even as a long term rental, I always say, like, at least just have it be at a point where it's breaking even, max losing like $100 a month. So you're not bleeding, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we always, like we were saying, always have to have the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. And then usually in between that falls the most likely scenario.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
do you do most of your hold investments close to home or do you disperse around?
So I go wherever I feel like it. Is really, and so this it's funny because I don't have like necessarily a I only invest in these areas. Like I generally go with where I am, right? So I have Louisiana because I lived in Louisiana and that's where I got started. And so got places there. Same thing in Colorado. I went to Virginia very randomly just because at one point I was like, I just need a scale with cheap properties. And I realized, Olivia, this is not the strategy. Like
Mhm.
pivot a little. And I realized for me, it's also a lifestyle play. So I like to invest in locations I actually like to go to. That is not like literally one of my mentors. He's like, I could not give a crap about where my properties are. They just need to make money. Whereas for
Mhm.
me, it really is also like a lifestyle play too. So I like to invest in areas that I actually want to go and visit. So for example, I'm literally going to New Orleans next week, staying at my property, and I'm like, perfect. I wanted a week in New Orleans. So
Yes. Yeah, no, I totally get that. I also look at it from a lifestyle as of who do I want to rent to? Because you're gonna have to interact with your tenants.
yes.
And a lot of people, if you're just chasing cash flow and you're in low growth areas, just because they're cheap properties, and some people have tenants, that can be challenging as well. Even
Hmm.
if you have a property management company, is that what you want to build your portfolio on? Or do you want to build your portfolio on an attractive home in a high growth area
Yeah,
that people are actually, seeking to stay in? And
completely.
and they don't even have to stay a long time because we want to raise our rents too. We don't want to
Yes.
be locked in. So it's just more freedom, I think.
Completely. And kind of like you, I'm such a design focused, design forward person that all my properties are cute. They were adorable. Like people want to stay at, they rave about it. They want to post it on Instagram. That's just because, like, even when I think about places that I stay in, like, I need it to be nice as well.
Yes, my theory is if we won't stay in our own properties, if I wouldn't live in them, I'm not going to expect someone else to
Exactly.
live in them. I
Yeah.
love that. So, how does this strategy go against conventional financial planning advice?
Yeah. I mean, I think especially with the 401k. Like any financial advisor would be like, no, you don't take out your 401k to go buy a property because then you're using post tax dollars, la 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 la, and you're not going to be getting the and it's like, okay, run your numbers though, right? Like my 401k at the time was not performing super well, and then I was making $5,000 a month on my house hack while I was living there, and I'm like, okay, but this, these numbers are a lot better than those are. And so I think it's like you have to take everything with a grain of salt, but you also have to think long term in terms of, yeah, I could keep putting money in my 401k. And don't get me wrong, I have a solo 401k now. I put money into that, but I'm also thinking about, okay, now I take that money and I invest in different things. The cool thing about solo 401k is now I'm investing in real estate through my solo 401k, through syndications and through other things, which you can't do with a regular 401k in corporate, right? Um, but I think the other thing too is I wouldn't say financial people would say that house hacking is bad. I think everyone can agree that like house hacking is smart, but I think people just get nervous about real estate in general. They're like, "Oh, there were so many problems and all of this." And I will say like real estate is not as passive as just throwing your money into your 401k, but I'm like, I'm young, I'm sprightly, and I also know what life I want to live. I know that when I have kids, I may want to just take a couple years off, but I still want income coming in. I still want infrastructure where I don't have to like now be making zero money and only be reliant on my partner's income. Like I still want to be able to provide, right? And so that's what I'm thinking about long term is I want to make sure to create the lifestyle so at every different stage season of my life, I'm doing it in alignment.
Absolutely. And real estate investing, what you're doing really is active. It is a
Yeah.
lot of work.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's
Well, it's a
let's
lot of work up front. I will say, like, depending on how you build your portfolio, like, I don't have hundreds of units, right? Like, I have 6 properties. They do well. I've got virtual assistants in the Philippines who do all my guest messaging. They talk to my cleaners. They talk to my handymen. They get things scheduled. They're keeping track of everything. They're ordering things. I'm just overseeing. So I
Yeah.
really don't like on a weekly basis. Once the property is up and running, spend more than an hour, right, on my properties.
Yes. So most people think they have to do all that themselves, which
Yes.
in one context they should, because at the end of the day, the buck stops here as entrepreneurs.
Yes.
But I love that you said that. So, because what I want to challenge you on here, and this is true, I just want to really squash that misconception, like you were saying. This is active. So it's real estate investing. It's up front. You get it started. It gets going. There's nothing, and then there's something, and you know what I mean by that. And the
Oh yeah.
something is never.
Oh
Sometimes
yeah.
it's a small something, and something that's not. For example, I was away last summer on vacation with my family. Got a notice from Airbnb complaining, the tenant saying, the towels are stained. We
Oh my
want
god.
free towels now. Get us towels. We are
Oh
six
my gosh.
hours away. And we are, because our Airbnbs are close to home, technically speaking, we manage those. So I'm like, dude, your towels are not staying, you're not getting new towels. But let's look at you, because you are all around the
Yes.
world traveling. It is active. These sort of things will happen from time to time, from my towels are stained to a pipe has burst and there's
Yeah.
a flood in your house. Walk us through like those systems that you sort of put in play, because there's going to be a lot of people out there who are going to want to be a traveling entrepreneur like you are. So how did the systems that you kind of created, because we want to show people how this really is possible.
Yeah.
How can they be an active real estate investor really, but account for all these unforeseen issues that will happen at some point in their
Yeah.
business.
I mean, so the big thing is automation and your team, right? And that's the beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur, being a real estate is leverage, right? You don't have to do everything yourself at the end of the day. So like in terms of automation, we have a ton of tools like Hospitable, where that's doing like a lot of the initial guest messaging, things like that, or Price Labs, which figures out pricing. But then really it comes down to your team. So in every location, we've got a cleaner, we've got a handyman, and we've got other professionals depending on like if it's the AC guy, yada yada yada, that's all listed out. The thing is everything's documented, right? So we have like a project management system. We've got all the details for every single property down to the paint color, the white paint color, that we have on our walls and things like that. And so what we ended up doing is hiring virtual assistants. And there are so many different ways that you can hire virtual assistants, but We hired virtual assistants in the Philippines, and they help us with guest messaging. They help us with coordinating with cleaners. They help us with finding, like, let's say we need a specialist in a certain location, they'll go ahead and find them. Every once in a while, we'll have to do some extra legwork, right? Where it's like, okay, well, we need to be the one to actually get on the call with X person and make sure that that's coordinated, which is fine. I think it's like people focus on the bad parts, right? Which is like maybe once every few months where something really like catastrophic happens. And I'm okay with stepping in for those once every few months because I really don't spend much time on it most of the year, right?
Yeah.
But there are like we have our SOPs. So literally we've got everything written down in terms of how to respond to guests about this certain thing. So I mean, I wish I could like share my screen, but like literally, I have like a full SOP just for guest messaging on what are common questions that people get that hospitable won't be able to catch, what are different and what are common things that like what if this happen what happens if this thing breaks? Like who do we need to call? Where do we need to like what card do we have to use to pay for it? All of that. And obviously we're not just putting the credit card information on the document. We use a tool called 1Password that stores all of that. But it's really just having those systems in place and those SOPs and training your team to be able to handle it. And I will say, at first, training your team is a pain in the butt. You're like, oh my gosh, this feels like so much more work. I'm having to like double work almost because I'm checking their things and I'm also checking it myself. But then it hits this magical point in like month one, month two, month three, where you're like, oh my gosh, this is running. And I can actually go on vacation and turn my phone off and everything's okay. And even if something wrong happens, they know how to handle it. And it becomes a thing where you also have to learn how to trust your team too. So I'm not checking every tiny little thing. There is a level of trust where I'm like, you got it. Cool. Let me know if you need anything.
Yeah, because you could also think about it. Oh, I can go on vacation. I can do all these travels, but I'm on my phone the whole time worried about this.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't worry. I think you
Hmm.
you
Like,
get to enough
but a
properties
lot of
too.
people would think that, oh, I could travel and
Yes.
just run my business. And they think running a business is you're on your laptop. Okay, anyone want to book this? So,
Yes.
oh, welcome to my unit, whatever. So you've taken it to which is freedom too,
Yeah.
because yeah, you're doing work, but you're doing it on your terms. But you've taken it to the next level where you've incorporated automation.
Hmm.
So now it's really done for you. Because some people just trade one job
For
for
another job.
another. Yeah.
And that
And
was my big thing is because at first, right? And this is all just like everyone goes through the levels, right? Because at first I was the person doing guest messaging. I was screenshotting stuff and sending it to my cleaners. I was coordinating everything, and I was on a trip. And I was just like, this isn't fun anymore.
yeah.
So what do I need to do in order to hire? And I remember that first hire was terrifying as well. Like that first hire and like even getting the automation tools because you've only got a couple properties and you're like, oh my gosh, am I really going to cut into my cash flow? Yes, yes, you are. It's going to
Mhm.
make your life so much easier. You're going to be like, I can't live without this. This is great.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, you really need to take that next step to take that freedom. And it's funny how you said people will not invest in real estate because of these few and far between
yeah,
scenarios that could or sometimes do happen. And they'll trade that for that daily guarantee of is it depression?
yeah,
Is it stomach ulcers? Is it feeling dead inside? Is it
yeah,
just an overall sense of unhappiness? Just because I think that's what we're supposed to do. And in society, that's like supposed to be the norm. And it really isn't. If we take the time and really create our life, we could really figure out how to have it all. And you mentioned before, so when I have kids and I settle down, I'll know what to do. Spoiler alert here, or maybe motivation alert for you too. One of the speakers, actually even a male speaker that was part of the summit, is also a traveling entrepreneur. He doesn't do real estate investing, but he does it through running a content creation business with two infants, and they
oh
live
my
in
gosh.
in the van life.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I
I
love
know. They
that.
sold everything, him and his wife. Their
Uh,
kids are young and they're across Europe. He's in the UK and traveling across Europe, living a van life. So
yeah,
it really shows that even if you're a parent or, or you don't have to feel like you have to be rooted. This new
yeah.
culture is just a really brand new world where we can
Yeah.
really kind of just live that life. So
Well,
it'll be fun to see where you transition to in stages as well.
Well, and that's why I love content creation in general too, is because so like I have my coaching business, but it's all run on content. Like everyone who finds me and joins coaching or whatever comes through my Instagram, comes through my YouTube, comes through those platforms. And the reason I love it is because I've truly just created it around my lifestyle, which is traveling all the time. And like you can do it your way. I think that's like the beautiful part of content creation is you can create whatever you want. You could create a coaching business. You could create a consulting business. You could any business that you want
Yeah.
through content.
I love that. I love that. Now, if you were to start all over from
Yeah.
scratch today, no followers, no capital, no connections, what secret move would you use to get ahead fast?
You said no capital at all.
Yeah, no capital.
Do I have the knowledge? Like I have my
Oh, yeah.
knowledge. Okay, I would just partner with people. So yeah, so I would find people that have money. And to do that, you can there's so many ways. It's like I think about a lot of my friends, and if I had no friends, I guess I would go to where people with money are. So I'd go to country clubs. I would try and get into um like lounges at airports. I would go to where wealthier people are and I would network with them and I would chat with them and talk to them about this real estate thing that I'm doing. Cause even though I haven't started yet, but like using the knowledge that I have. And then I'd work with them to partner with them on a property where that would bring me capital. Now, I wouldn't do a long term partnership. I would honestly probably do something that's more of a booper or short term flip where I'm only taking their money for 6 months, can burr it, so refinance out of it, and that, pardon me, and then pay them back. And then I'm left with the property, or I'm left with some extra capital as well. But it would be going to find really damn good deals, like deals that should probably aren't on the MLS. You're really getting them for a low price so that you can renovate it and force equity.
Yes, no, I do love the Burr model. That's my actually favorite investment model, really, are buying single family homes, converting them into multis,
Yes.
using these midterm rental strategies, preferably over long-term strategies as fully furnished units
Yeah.
and renting them out to people. And sometimes they're professionals, like medical professionals, that if
Hmm.
you're in an 8-month contract or 6-month contract. But I absolutely do love that strategy because then you can really, like you said, create that forced equity component, that
Yeah.
sweat equity, and be able to pull that money out. So, and finding
Exactly.
FMLS is always very, 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 very important as well.
Yeah,
Making
and
money
to be
by.
fair, there are some really good deals on the MLS, especially right now. Like market's been really slow. Properties are sitting for 77 days. Like my most recent property, I got it for 180K less than what it appraised for and less than what it was listed for, right? So the thing is I'm also, and this is what I tell my students, don't be afraid to offend someone. Like just put the lowball offer in. The worst they can say is no. And honestly, what will a lot of the time happen is they don't have any other offers, so they have to consider yours.
Yes, yes. And if they do say yes after your offer on the first go, you've left money on the table.
Exactly.
So you definitely don't be scared and don't work with agents also
Who
who are
won't?
not working for
Hmm.
you. Because a
Hmm.
lot of them will refuse. Oh, I can't do that. Well, do you have something else to do?
Right, right.
You
And I
need
know
to
it
do
always
that.
blows my mind because people will be like, yeah, it's gonna offend them. So what? Like,
Absolutely. Because if you're not making money when you buy, you're not buying smart.
yeah,
And that doesn't mean putting in like unrealistic offers. Like we have to be realistic of today's economy is
yeah.
this is a buyer's market. And
Hmm.
this is the time. This is why all of you all want to be investing in real estate now. We don't want to wait till interest rates go down again and real estate's a cool thing to do.
Yeah,
Like now is the time. You just need to know what to do after that.
completely.
So yeah, making money when you buy is definitely important. What's the biggest lie or misconception about wealth building that keeps 98% of people stuck?
I think in today's society with social media, everyone thinks it happens in a year or in 2 years. And they're like, and so what ends up keeping them stuck is they see all these people who have scaled overnight, right? Is what it feels like. And they've just like grown their portfolios. But it's so funny. I literally posted a post the other day that talked about like my progression. And it's like slow and steady, baby. Like it's adding a property or two every single year. It's adding an extra 5K of cash flow a month here, an extra 5K of cash flow a month this next year. And it does take time. I
Yeah.
think that's what makes a lot of people not jump in though, because they're like, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to quit my job in a year? Where it's like, okay, well, why don't we like slowly, gradually put in place? Because here's the thing that happens too. A lot of people have this idea that they can only quit when they fully replace their income, or they can only quit when they're making $10,000 a month in cash flow from their property. That's originally what I had too. And then I really looked at the cost benefit of it all, of me staying in my job versus me leaving and going all in on this. And
Mhm.
when I quit my job, I had one property. That was it, one property. But the cost of staying was so much greater than the cost of like leaving and trying to figure this out. So you have to look at it that way too. I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't have quit like 3 years ago at this
Yeah.
point.
You got to burn the boats.
Yes.
You can't have one foot in and one foot out. And like our coach said, what are you trading your life for?
Mhm.
And then it's that certainty, and it's impossible to live a life of growth and a life of certainty.
Yeah.
There has to be a component of uncertainty in your life, or else you are truly not growing
Yeah.
and you're not living. And I think as entrepreneurs and real estate entrepreneurs, we're always growing, and we're always living and changing, and our
Mhm.
strategies could change too.
Completely.
So what do you see the top 1 to 2% wealthiest people and families doing consistently that the rest of the world really ignores and avoids?
They're not paying attention, and I'm saying this in the sense of a lot of people wait until the perfect time to invest. I'm never waiting until the perfect time. Yes, I'm like paying attention to the market, but you're always investing. You don't stop. You think about even when you're investing into your 401k, you don't just like randomly be like, oh, this month I'm just not going to invest for the next 4 months, right? Because the market's down. No, you keep investing. And it's the same with the real estate, right? You keep buying properties regardless of the market, regardless of what time it is, because there's deals to be made in every single market.
Thank you. Amen to that.
Yeah.
That is so true. It's always the right time
Yeah.
to invest in real estate. You don't wait.
Yeah.
It's just, what strategy do you use? And that
Mhm.
is so impactful that you actually just said that. It is always the right time. So let's go back to just before COVID,
Yeah.
or COVID time, when the market here was so high,
Mhm.
right? But was it still the right time to buy? Yes, if you're buying right.
Yes.
So you have to have your value systems in place, and those are not compromised
Yeah.
by what the market's doing. So would we overbid on a home? Yes, we would overbid on a home that would still allow us to make money when we buy, because
Yeah.
we knew what we were going to do with that home. If
Exactly.
that makes sense. And that's where the skills, the training, the education you need, because it's every investor's job. You have to go in, and you and I can both do this. We can make any property either cash flow positive or cash flow negative.
Yeah.
It's not what's given in front of us, because the best deals are not found, they're created.
Yep.
So real estate investors are constantly creating deals. And if you could do that, that also really allows you to stay in these high growth areas as well. We're not always just chasing the cheap properties.
Mhm.
People tend to do that. Oh, I'm going to just do what's really cheap. I'm going to buy a $20,000 house. And that's the main draw, because that seems achievable.
Yeah.
But where in reality, if you're able to create that deal, you'll make just as much money, probably heck of a lot more money
Yep.
based on that house,
Yeah.
rather than just buying on a cheap property, or a property that someone will give them. Some deals you shouldn't take for free.
Yeah.
So now, before I ask my last question, I do have to ask this question, obviously. Tell us about your next travels. Where are
Oh
you
my
going
gosh.
to next, and what do you have planned for the next
Yeah, so
25,
I
26?
I mean, I'm traveling in the US next week, so just going to New Orleans and San Antonio for a thing. After that, later this year, I'm going to Costa Rica. I have a retreat there, so that will be very fun. Trying to decide what I want to do for New Year's, if I'm going to go to Brazil or Cape Town or something.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. And so do you plan things way ahead or do you
No, I
just do it?
used to, but then when I really started traveling pretty much full time, I book flights like a month beforehand. Like, and just go. I mean, even for next week, I still haven't booked my ticket. I need to do that today. So,
So I was on a conference, whatever. We were doing this huge conference with two other entrepreneurs. One's real
yeah.
estate investor, one does events, and they both travel the world. One of the entrepreneurs travels 350 days of the
Oh
year.
my gosh.
He's like legit and has done this for 20 years.
And that's the thing.
He
I
is,
I
yeah.
realize for me, I don't like traveling like I like having a home base to come to, and I like having my home to come to. I like having my friends at home and things like that. I just like always have this itch though to go like abroad or travel and go explore too.
Yeah, but the conversation they had was just hysterical. They're like, "Oh, well, we should meet up." Okay, well, let's meet up. I'm in Rome here. Okay, well, I'm
Yeah.
in, I'm in Antarctica then, but I'm in Egypt then. Okay,
Yep.
well, I'm in Saudi Arabia. I was sitting
Oh
there
my
like,
gosh.
I'm in Markham.
I
All
know that's what I
right.
do with my friends as well. Because next year I'm gonna do 3 months in Italy and maybe a month in Mexico, and like go back to a little bit more longer term nomading lifestyle, especially since I did get my home base here in Colorado. But I'm like coordinating with a friend of mine who's in Portugal right now. We're like, where should we meet?
I love that. That's incredible. It really is that time. Your story really is one of everything we stand for: time, money, and freedom. Is there anything else you want to share with our audience? And I know you do have a free, amazing gift that you'll be offering.
I do have a free masterclass. And if you go to oliviatati.com/free masterclass, slash I know that you'll be providing the link for that. It basically goes over like my entire story, but also the like key strategies that are working today in terms of buying your first, second, third investment property, specifically through the house hacking strategy. Just because there are a lot of like nuances, and we even go through examples and things like that as well, using properties that are on the market. But the big thing I really want to leave people with is that doing it in alignment is truly key. It's very easy in real estate and in entrepreneurship to get yourself back into a different rat race, right? Where you're chasing some goal, be it door count, be it income, and then that's when you get to the point where you're like, shut it all down, I quit, I'm done, versus doing it in the way that truly feels aligned to you. So I want everyone to really think about like in 5 years, where do I want to be? What do I want my life to look like? Because I know for me, that was so big is I look back to my journal 5 years ago and I'm like, holy crap, I'm actually living it. And I like wrote I think this was last year or a couple years ago. I wrote my next 5 years, what I want my life to look like. And I'm already seeing so many parts of it really actually happening. Right. So instead of in corporate, a lot of the time, you just kind of sit back and let life happen to you. Like, no, you have full control over what your life gets to look like.
I love that. I love it. We used to have that as our tagline. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Let
Yeah.
us know if you get there.
Yeah.
So I love that because you really have to keep your eye on the goal and
Hmm.
watch for your progress and make sure that you're kind of gauging, like we said, to live your authentic life. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. And audience, the link to this very generous gift and this masterclass course is going to be in this email where you're watching this video. So click on that link and tune in to that masterclass. I know I will be. So thank you so much, Olivia. This was a great interview. I feel so inspired. Now I feel like I'm getting my travel bug
Yes.
going again. I know I used to do lots of traveling before and then things change and now I kind of want to get going a little bit. I think things slowed down a little bit since COVID, so I want to get going again too.
Ugh,
But
love it.
thank you so much for all this valuable knowledge. And thank you, audience, for tuning in. And join us tomorrow. We will have another wealth expert sharing their wealth building strategy. And we'll see you later. Thanks so much.